back to another episode of HorrorRealm Radio, the show that won't stay dead. I'm your host, Mike Exler, along with Rich Delzato. Rich, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you, Mike?
Oh, I'm doing good. I heard you have some HorrorRealm news for us real quick before we get into our first segment of the night.
I do. A quick update. Well, of course, don't forget, on March 7th, we will be having the flea market for those local, and it will be very COVID friendly. But more importantly, we added another guest for the convention in November. We're lucky enough to be able to book Bob Elmore, who, of course, has done stunt work as Leatherface, among probably, 50 other movies, including Pirates of the Caribbean. He's got a great resume, but I think our fans will be most excited that we have a Leatherface at the show.
Yeah, and Mr. Giggles as well.
Mr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if he was a stunt double, but he did do stunts in that film.
Yes. So excited. I'm happy with how the guest list is shaping up. Of course, last week we announced Christina Klebe and Deborah Foreman, and really excited by the response by everybody this week as we announced them.
Yeah, definitely. Shaping up to be a really good show. So go check out all that information on the HorrorRealm Facebook page as well as HorrorRealmCon.com. So with that, we're going to get right into our first segment, and that is a view from behind the table. So Rich, why don't you take us into that one?
Very good. Well, this one's extra special to me. And of course, I love all the vendors at HorrorRealm, but tonight we have from Time Capsule Toys, Rick Fusselman, who is a longtime friend. Mr. Giggles himself is on his lap, Killian.
Say hi. Or not.
Or not. So, welcome, Rick. Thanks for being part of the show tonight. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. So, I'm sure you've listened to every episode, but just in case you haven't or somebody else is tuning in for the first time, we started a segment that we're doing occasionally, View from Behind a Table, and we like to talk to vendors from HorrorRealm about what it's like setting up at shows, being on the other side of the table. And you have a great experience of being a fan also going to conventions. So it'd be interesting to hear what you think some of the differences are and maybe preferences.
Yeah. Going from being a normal fan at a show to being a vendor is a whole different world. Needless to say, because you don't get to go around, go fart around and everything else, go watch movies, go get all your autographs, go do whatever. You get to sit behind a table and play business.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, there's certain vendors who don't play business and wonder why they don't do so well, but but I don't know. Like I said, it's a world of difference, and I prefer actually vending than being a normal fan now, because I get to see a lot more people and meet a lot more people, and eventually your customers become friends and stuff like that.
Nice. And that's something I've been curious about, speaking with different vendors, if being behind there and kind of stuck for a weekend, if it did lead to better conversation, deeper conversation, maybe more, like you said, friendships, and that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's like I said, you gain more friends and have better conversations, I feel, with the people you're connecting with the stuff that you're selling, other than just running around like a chicken with your head cut off and running into random people that you would just basically just have awkward conversations with because you accidentally bumped into them.
Right. Well,
so
speaking of awkward, being stuck behind a table the whole weekend, you probably observe things that others don't. Do you see any awkward moments or funny things that people tend to do that when they don't think people are paying attention?
Yeah, you catch that a lot. And it's not even just from customers. It's you catch some of the vendors doing it as well. Like vendors that don't assume, they just assume that no one's watching them, but then they see you just staring right at them as they're doing whatever dumb thing that they're doing that they think that no one will see them from them hiding behind their table.
Well, I have a lot of questions for you, but I don't want to ignore Mike over there. Did you have some vending questions, Mike?
Yeah, so Time Capsule Toys, why don't you talk a little bit about how that came to be and the store that you have and all that fun stuff?
So Time Capsules Toys started pretty much at HorrorRealm. I don't know how many years ago it was, but it was the year that Big Bird was there.
Okay, 2015,
Carol Spinney,
I think.
So, because I was pretty much only selling horror stuff at the time, but then when I started doing that, I brought a bunch of other random stuff to the show, just like toy-wise. That's pretty much how Time Capsule Toys started, and then I quit my full-time job to open a booth at the flea market of just selling toys. And then after a year of that, I pretty much did not like it because the flea market stunk and it was like 9 million degrees. It was either 9 million degrees in there or negative 9 million degrees. There was no in between. Where I pulled out of there.
Some of the stories from the flea market were the greatest, though. I miss those stories.
There's a handful of stories I cannot tell with my children being awake currently. With Amanda being awake. She doesn't like to hear those stories either of the things I would have to say to these people who basically look like they crawled out of the dumpster and into the flea market. But so after a year at the flea market, I pulled out of there, and then I was mailing some stuff out at the Gerard post office, and I parked right in front of this storefront, and I was like, oh, there's a for rent sign here. There's never been a for rent sign here. So that night, me and Amanda went down, talked to the landlord, then we signed the papers, and then we started. I basically threw Amanda to the wolves, needless to say. I said, hey, I'm going to get all the toys together, cases, shelving units, whatever, inventory. I need you to start looking into how we do an actual business. And she's like, when are you going to open? I go, I don't know, like a week. So that led to some interesting conversations and all that fun stuff. Then like a week later, I busted my hump, got us open for Small Business Saturday. And then from there, we've moved. We're in our third location now. We now run Toyohio. And now it's both of our full-time jobs now. She was able to quit her full-time job. So now our job is strictly selling toys.
That's awesome. And what's great is that you've moved 3 times, but it's all in the same block. So
it is in the same landlord.
That helps.
The latest move was my landlord saying, hey, we bought the building next to us. You wanted to move there, right? I'm like, well, I guess so. Which we needed to anyways, because we were so busy and buying so much stuff, like we needed to move.
Well, you brought up Toyohio, and this takes the view from behind the table. This now brings you to the view from the
rich seat,
the promoter seat. Something I'm familiar with. I feel like Mike has a pretty good understanding. How have you found Toyohio to be? How did it come to be?
So Toyohio actually started while I was still at the flea market. My buddy Tom, who ended up passing away a couple weeks after this last Toyohio, he came to me at the flea market and was like, listen, man, I know you've been wanting to put on a toy show forever, and I want to put on one real bad. He goes, because I'm sick of doing these wrestling shows. He was doing these like local wrestling shows and setting up there and making like $100 or whatever. Really not worth his time. Billy's playing G.I. Joe's here. I'm trying to. And so he told me, he's like, oh, I do these wrestling shows. And he's like, it's not really worth my time. Because I'd really like if we could somehow come together and do a toy show. And I said, all right, well, let's start looking into venues. And pretty much everywhere we looked, it was like a nightmare to deal with. So the first Toyohio, which you guys happened to be at, which was in that fire hall.
Yeah.
Like literally probably the only place I could book that didn't cost a fortune. And it was, we were only, like, what was it? We were allowed to have, I think, 30 tables. I think that's what we had. We had 30 tables, and we weren't allowed to charge admission. So I was like, okay, well, we're just going to sell tables for this much money, just cover the cost of the building. So we did that. We did free admission. It was like busy pretty much all day. I think Rich sold half his table in the first 10 minutes of the show, which is on par for Rich. So then after that, we moved to a dance hall, which we went up against an Ohio State Buckeyes game, which didn't help things at all. And the lady that ran the dance hall was pretty much utterly insane. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I sold half my table in the first 10 minutes there.
You did.
And I do remember that lady.
The other half you donated Toys for Tots.
I wasn't carrying that junk trash home with me.
So then from there, going into Toyohio 2, I told Tom, I said, listen, I'm just taking whatever we make and we're just doing the Metroplex. I was like, I don't even care anymore, like, because that woman was just a nightmare to deal with. And I said, I don't care what's going to cost us. Like, we just have to make the jump. Like, I don't even care. So then that was in February, which was Toyohio 3. We rented that one room, and it was so packed to where the next Toyohio, we took down the wall and expanded it again. And then finally came to a point where we're just like, I sat down with Tom and I said, we have to just rent the whole building. Like, there's no way around it. Like, people couldn't get through the aisles and stuff like that with strollers, which I remember a toy show that I went to with Exler, and I brought my boys. And Exler couldn't get down the aisle, and I couldn't get down the aisle with my strollers. So that was my whole goal in Ohio, is the second I would see anyone not be able to get through an aisle, I knew I'd have to make it bigger, because I didn't want people to be uncomfortable trying to look at stuff or have them feel bad that they brought their kids.
Right.
Because
I agree. It's an important part.
You've done a good job with that. Yes.
You want to be comfortable looking at toys. You don't want to worry about wiping your butt across someone's table while you're rubbing your groin against someone else's table, because that's how small the aisles are.
And I always appreciated that you left ample amount of room for the vendors behind the tables as well, because there's an awful lot of shows that give zero fucks about what you feel like behind that table all day for an entire weekend.
And that's my whole thing, is I want to give everyone space. Vendors need space. Customers need space. And the one thing that irks me most is being a promoter, I'm sure Rich will see me eye to eye here, is when people go, when you're like, well, we're sold out. And they go, well, you can squeeze me in. Where would you like me to squeeze you in at? Like, well, I'm like, okay, you want me to squeeze you in? I can put you in the lobby. Well, I want to be inside the show, but you're not being squeezed in, because I'm not squeezing people. I sell the tables I'm allotted to sell for a reason, because I want everyone to be comfortable.
No, I agree with you 100%, and I've experienced that same thing. Yeah, people just when they want to get in there, they don't understand you're not gonna disrupt everything just for them and make everybody else uncomfortable.
Yeah, like I said, no one wants to be crammed in like sardines when they're trying to shop for stuff. That's why
I did that at HorrorRealm a couple times early on. I made those mistakes and learned either sell less tables or get more space. I remember when we had like 13 Night of the Living Dead people in one of those side breakout rooms at HorrorRealm.
I remember that.
That was that was a mistake. But I mean, that's the only way you learn. And, I think, good promoters, and I believe Rick is, and I hope I am, you learn and you adjust to better everything
Well,
for
that's the one thing I guess I've learned by watching and going to other shows. Like, I've been doing HorrorRealm basically almost since the beginning.
Yeah.
I used to do Cinema Wasteland with you. And just by going to, like, other shows, like, there's other shows, like, obviously there's other shows I haven't mentioned and I won't mention because of I don't want to get stink-eyed or shushed or anything else.
Or banned if it gets out to the wrong person.
Yeah, or banned. But there's ways you should do things. And that's what I've learned from watching and going to other shows is this is what I want to do. This is what I don't want to do. Like, I won't have someone selling siding or I won't have someone selling gutters. Like,
I had the gutter guy one year.
On our present Toyohio vendor list, there's a guy called Condo Adventures, and in parentheses, I wrote, "He sells action figures. Calm down."
Nice.
I knew if I just put Condo Adventures, something was gonna happen.
We learned to not make it automatic sign up for vendors once we had the gutter guy. We had to change up how people could sign up because nice guy, but not the right thing for a horror convention.
Yeah, that's not. It's
so
not a home expo. That's what I tell people.
No. So you have a show coming up. Why don't you tell us all the information about that?
So, Toyohio, was it Toyohio 9? Yeah, Toyohio 9.
Damn, 9.
Yes. Is going to be on February 13th. It is going to be the Valentine's Day gift for all the guys in the world and girls who collect.
Oh, yeah?
We're running from 10 to 4, and we are not doing early bird this time. I'm done doing early bird. It's a headache, to be honest. So, and admission's $5 to get in. And that's another thing I keep it affordable because I can.
Nice.
Right.
And you're happy with the vendor mix?
I am. We have probably 75% to an 80% vendor renewal now.
Right.
Because the vendors don't want to lose their spots. And what we do on our site actually is we have an application to where when you sign up, that's how we catch the gutter people.
Nice. I know Mike's gonna.
You have to put what you're selling and stuff like that. So, because I don't want to have too many Funko people. I don't want to have too many like vintage dealers. I don't want to have too many too many modern people, like stuff like that. I want it to be a good mix. So I don't want to cram a bunch of the same old into every show.
Right. Well, Mike and I would be there if it weren't for COVID, but we both have our situations here in Pittsburgh where we have to be a little more careful, but I'll be wishing you luck.
Thank you.
And I just want to say that look at Alf on the screen right now. You have to look at me. I won this at Toyohio for donating to Toys for Tots, and he sits in my office proudly. So this is the things you can win at Toyohio sometimes, or buy. Why would you not buy this Alf?
Exactly. I remember when I was doing, every time I have a plush Alf, I would bring them to HorrorRealm, and I would sell every single one of them. People in Pittsburgh love Alf. I think I also sold an Alf TV tray there once.
You did.
I remember that, actually. The one thing I found funny last HorrorRealm is you brought a $5 bin of Masters of the Universe, and you were selling those things like a crazy, man. They were going left and right, which I thought was funny.
It was the best seller I had at my tables was the $5 Masters of the Universe bin. And Rich walks up, "How you doing?" I go, "My $5 bin's almost empty." He's like, $5 bin what? Masters of the Universe? He goes, "For real?" I'm like, "Yeah." I sold so many stinking $5.
I bought a few myself.
And you also picked up a Gwildor from me.
I did. That's one of my prized possessions.
Just hanging out back there.
He's right here.
Him and his cosmic key.
You do not ever want to
Cosmic key and
do
everything.
not sniff that figure ever.
So, Rick, we thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell us your address and every place we can find Time Capsule Toys, man?
Okay, Time Capsule Toys, you can find us on Facebook under Time Capsule Toys. Time Capsule Toys on Instagram is just Time Capsule Toys. Address to the shop is 52 West Liberty Street in Girard, Ohio. And then you can find Toyohio at toyohiotoyshow.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then we'll be announcing the date for the June show on February 13th, which I just posted the actual flyer for the show today, but I blacked out the date because I don't like to give out the dates for the shows until the day of the current show.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, real quick before we let Rick go,
sure.
let me one thing. This is a pretty big show for you in the sense that you have a exciting guest.
Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. Considering it's a huge deal. When me and Tom first started this, Tom's whole goal was to bring in one wrestler like every show. So in the June show, instantly we got word that Matt Cardona, which is Zack Ryder, and Brian Myers, who was Kurt Hawkins, were released from their WWE contracts. So then instantly people started walking up to us. Are you getting Cardona and Myers? Are you getting Cardona and Myers? Well, at the point in time, we were kind of in discussion with Myers about doing the show, but we couldn't talk to Cardona because he was like secretly signed with AEW and had his 5 moments there, and now he's gone to Impact. But so Myers actually donated to Tom's GoFundMe for the funeral costs. So I was still like, okay, I have to get Myers. That was my whole goal. So then with the help of John Thorne from AIW, he's the one who's been helping me get in contact with wrestlers, and he's really good friends with Brian Myers. And I said, I really want Brian Myers for the show. Let me know if you think anything can happen. Within 5 minutes, he said he has to check his Impact schedule. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this is probably going to be a week or two. Like 5 minutes later, he goes, he's good to go. So he's like, so you can announce him, but we don't want to announce him yet. But yeah, it's a huge deal. So Brian Myers is going to be there. A lot of people know him from being Kurt Hawkins. And now you can watch him on Impact as Brian Myers. But he's also part of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, which is a huge thing. And then they have their YouTube page. That's a big deal. And now they have actually launched their own podcast network. So, but yeah, it's his autograph's $20. Selfie's $20. Combo's $30. I'm excited to have them, and it's honestly a huge deal. I send out tickets to people from I think people from New York are coming, Iowa, Tennessee, Kentucky, Philly, Florida.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, the show's gonna be crazy. And everyone's like, how can a wrestler draw so many people? I'm like, all right, well, we're finding out, I guess. People like wrestling, and people like toys. So
what they do.
Well, I'm excited for you having that guest, and it's a great way to honor Tom's memory. So
yes, thank you so much.
I really appreciate you being here tonight. Best of luck with the show next week or this coming weekend. When this airs, it'll be this coming weekend. So, and
well, thank you guys for
buy me something for $1.
I'll find you something for $1. It's probably gonna be a rock water bottle with a hole in its foot.
Do it.
It's right there. I'm not getting up out of the chair, but it is right fucking there. I'm looking at it. It's never leaving, ever.
That is one of Scott's favorite Toyohio stories. And when Rich opened up a box of his stuff and wondered why he had a Vanna White doll and like 45 no trespassing signs.
It's just what I do. Well, thank you, Rick.
Oh man, good
No
shit.
problem. Thank you guys again, and I enjoyed the hell out of the show, and I can't wait for Horror Realm.
Well, thank you. Bye, Killian.
For sure, man. Good talking to you.
Good talking. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye, Killian.
Yes, thanks again.
You're welcome.
Yep, thank you. All right, that was Rick from Time Capsule Toys and Toyohio. So if you're in the Girard area or the tri-state area or from Florida, apparently, go check it out. And Brian Myers or Kurt Hawkins from WWE had the longest losing streak, I believe, was his gimmick for a while.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it made for a nice. I mean, any time you can keep your name in front of WWE for that long, who cares if it's a losing streak? That was pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. It's hard to make it in that place, and he did it even on that level. So that's cool. It's a cool ad for him and honoring his friend. So glad that's going on. So this is our Valentine's Day episode, is it not? Is that true?
It is. It is, and we've got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we thought it would be kind of fun. Oh, look at that.
You didn't hear the part where I said we had to talk about
right?
being secret lovers?
No. Man, that's a nice background for people just listening. Rich is green screening it, man, and he's got both covers of the film My Bloody Valentine, the original being 1981 and then the remake in 2009, I'm sorry. So I just watched these back to back this week. Of course, I've seen them before, but it had been a while. And Rich, I don't know if you remember, but I was never really that favorable to My Bloody Valentine, the original.
No, it's not. Our discussions, and you and I agree on a lot of movies, especially from that era, but that's one where we kind of went on a divergent path. So I'm curious how you felt about your rewatching.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we need to belabor the fact of the plot or anything of the film. Rewatching it, I definitely think I was harsh on the film. It fits perfectly in the 80s world. But the one thing that I did really appreciate were some of the kills, like the dryer scene. I thought was really good. It was really well done. The heart scenes, the person with the chest ripped open. Thought it was really well done. So it was definitely, to be quite honest, looking at the kills, like there was some bad fucking acting, not gonna lie, but so was Friday the 13th and all that kind of stuff.
Of course.
But I guess that's part of the charm as well. But I think, what was his name? What was the miner's name? I just
Harry Warden.
Harry Warden, that's it. Because
Harry Warden.
Harry Warden, yeah. It's actually the same name in the remake, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't know why he doesn't get more respect because he looks very menacing. That's a very menacing mask. He's got a pickaxe. I will say he uses it pretty cool in the original. And like I said, the kills are pretty gory. They're pretty on par with Jason and whatnot. That's kind of my thought on the kills, and I'm not sure why many more people don't mention this film. What are your thoughts, Rich?
I agree with everything you said. I really liked the efforts they went into making you feel like, the town felt real, and it felt like they were really into Valentine's Day. And, there was just little details that the filmmakers did to make sure that everything kind of tied together. To answer your question about Harry Warden, I asked this about some other movies too, and I think maybe he's not a bigger slasher because there was only one movie.
Yeah, that's true.
It seems
they set it up for a second one.
They sure did, and it seems like though you have to have sequels to really become the iconic slasher. I was kind of going through my little mental Rolodex, and that seems to be, you put Freddy, Michael, Jason, Leatherface on one side, and you start putting the Harry Wardens and the guy from The Prowler, and things like that on the other side. The single movies don't.
Black Christmas.
Black Christmas, which is a superior film to a lot of films that we're talking about.
Most of them, correct. I agree with you completely.
But, name the killer. Tell me anything about him. Most people forget about him.
Yeah, was his name Billy, I think?
Billy, yeah. So it's very interesting. And so you make a great point asking why he really doesn't get more respect as a iconic slasher.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to look at it like it's an '80s flick, and you got to look past that certain stuff. But the kills were pretty raw. I won't lie for that time, and they weren't afraid to show it. And I thought the plot was very interesting too. It wasn't your, I don't know, like the normal sort of plot of a slasher, right, with the mine and things like that. Though I do find it hard to believe that anybody would want to go down a mine while drinking. I don't know if that's a good idea. That just seems dangerous. But again, it's a film. I understand.
I think they did a good job with the setup. Like that movie, if it didn't have the horror element, it could have been like a coming of age teenager movie, in a small town type thing. I mean, they had the elements, and I think that's what made it a good horror film for me. It had those elements, but we're going to kill people. We're not coming up.
Did you did you ever guess who the killer was, like the first time you saw it, or were you thrown off?
I was thrown off, but I was also probably like 12 or 13 when I saw it. So my powers of deduction were not that great.
Right. This time I'll be honest with you, it was almost like the first time I watched it, and I was kind of thrown off. I was a little surprised at who the killer was.
It's a good.
No, again, I think.
Twist.
Yeah, no, it is. It's nice thrown in there pretty well. But again, I do like it. I take back some of the things that I said about it. But I think you're right. I guess since it's a one and done, people kind of just forget about it.
We can be friends again now that you've taken this opinion about the movie.
Nice. So, with that being said, a little retrospective on My Bloody Valentine. We'll go to 2009's version, and this is actually My Bloody Valentine 3D was the gimmick for this film. So I obviously did not watch it in 3D because why would you? 3D has that failed yet? Are we officially done with 3D, do you think?
It feels like not post, but pre-COVID. It didn't feel like the 3D movies were kind of on the decline. They weren't releasing as many.
I think so. It felt that way. I mean, I remember when it first happened, I'd be like, yeah, we got to check it out in 3D. And after like the third showing, I was like, why am I paying extra money for this?
I saw it in 3D. And
did you?
Yeah, and much like my complaint about any of those 3D movies, I hate the glasses because they darken the film. And if you're watching a horror film, you're going to have a lot of darkness to begin with. So I don't feel like I really see the entire film when I'm watching those in 3D.
And another thing that I'm going to say about 3D films, that this film has a big flaw about it, is it plays its kills and then other little actions in the fact that it's a 3D fucking movie. Like the arrow comes shooting right at the lens or some shit like that. Like, don't, man, because if you're not watching it on 3D, it does nothing. Like, use the 3D smartly, I guess. I don't know. Or just don't use it at all. No, I just find that off-putting.
I agree with you. Like, when they did Friday the 13th 3D, I understand why they had to do that. The technology was 80s technology, but in 2009, they were far enough ahead that you're right. They could have made it seamless so that your viewing wasn't affected whether you were 2D or 3D. But it felt like they were making an 80s movie in that respect.
Right. Now, I guess we should have prefaced this before we started, but I want to say I'm not one that hates remakes. I know there's a lot of people out there that vehemently just despise remakes and won't watch them and all that kind of stuff. So as this conversation goes on, I'm not one of those people. So Rich, are you one of those people, or where do you
It,
lie on that whole
it
thing?
depends on the day, but no, I'll give anything a chance. For me to not hate a remake, I think there needs to be a certain level of respect shown to the original. And, you better bring some stuff that the original didn't that makes me say,
Right.
okay. And that's where I start to get angry with some remakes is they just wanted to use the name to make some money and they brought nothing new and made an inferior movie. But in this case, we'll discuss and see what we think of this effort.
Right. So this is not by any means a shot by shot remake. This is they have the story elements. There are a lot of similarities, but the events don't occur exactly the same way they do in the original, I would say.
I agree with that. And this will probably be the most negative thing I say about the movie. Um, at first, the first time I sat back and decided what I thought about it, I kind of felt like they just wanted to be able to use a somewhat well-known name to make a movie and make some money, because Valentine's Day is kind of an afterthought in this film if you pay attention. But I got over
It really is.
I got over that. I found enough things about this movie that I like.
Yeah, because they added the whole he was going to sell the mine and really ruin the town type
Right.
situation. So I mean, they definitely added more elements to the story than just a bunch of workers going out to party in the mine office place and then go down in the mine. I think there are definitely more elements at play in the remake. Uh, Before we go on, we have to mention that Tom Atkins is I don't know, a star maybe. He is a big name that's in this film.
I would
That has
consider
to
him
win some points for you.
huge. At that
Well,
time,
I'm just thinking he's going up against Jensen Ackles, who is Mr. Supernatural and
yeah, but this
is a
is
pretty big.
2009. This is 2009. Jensen Ackles was like 2 or 3 seasons into Supernatural at that point. Most people didn't know who he was. In my opinion, Tom Atkins was the cast star of that movie.
I found it odd that
Actually,
he did the film.
well, it was. I think it was because it was filmed locally,
Mhm.
partly. Um, but
Right.
and sorry to diverge from Tom Atkins for a second. Kerr Smith, I forget what his character's name was in that movie, was arguably a bigger star than Jensen Ackles at that point. He was
Is that the sheriff?
yeah. Yeah,
That's
because he had
Axel.
had a
That was
long
the Axel
TV run at
character.
that point. He was one of those teenage, heartthrob, on Fox on Thursday night shows. I
Oh,
forget what
really?
show it was. Yeah,
I
I'm gonna
had
look
I
it
had
up.
no clue who that guy was
Yeah,
at
so
all.
Jensen
I
was
had
kind of
zero clue.
now Jensen has eclipsed all of them at this point, but at that
Well,
time,
yeah. I mean,
he was
so
not the
this is
biggest
his
actor.
getting his feet wet, if you will.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, he was on. Kerr Smith was on Dawson's Creek.
oh yeah, that was huge.
Yeah,
That was a big show.
yeah. So
So yeah, so he played the Axel character, which they did use most of the names from the original in the remake. So Tom Atkins is in the film, and he plays the sheriff who doesn't age for a decade. It's crazy how he doesn't age for a decade. I'm nitpicking, of course, at this film. He plays the sheriff, and he comes back 10 years later when the story gets set in motion, and he plays sort of a crotchety old guy that is a perfect role. I mean, he plays a cop, and I just think he fit that role perfectly.
I agree. I agree. He's a good actor, as we know, and he he's been versatile over the years.
Oh, definitely he's had quite a career, and him doing this, I definitely respect that because, he has a lot of his roots in the horror genre. So it's always nice to see when they, I don't want to say go back to it, but, not forget sort of, what their roots are almost.
Well, it's appreciated that he did another horror film for fans like us because at the time, if you recall, um, he was doing The Chief, the one man Art Rooney
Right.
play,
Yeah.
very popular. They were putting a DVD out of it. He was every year cast to be Ebenezer Scrooge in the city of Pittsburgh
That's right.
Christmas Carol. So, Tom had paid his dues over the years and still was plenty busy. And for him to find time to give us another horror film says a lot, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree. I enjoyed his performances. I do all his performances, and he's an even better guy than he is an
Yes.
actor. So it was great to see him in this film. The one thing I do want to say about this film, and I think I've got all the negatives out that I have, and again, they're pretty small. The one that I really hold at the highest is the I wish they didn't go for the 3D style kills. I think that was the only thing that sort of hurt this film. But you said pay homage, bring something different to the film is one of your criteria. And I think we talked about it a little bit that it definitely brought something else to the story. The twist at the end was completely different than what I saw
Yep.
coming. I don't know about you.
No, I liked the twist at the end. I didn't see it coming, and I appreciated that because they did respect the original, but they made this one their own, and I liked how it turned out in that respect.
Yeah, I agree. And having watched them so close together, there are so many scenes in the remake that they pay homage to from the original. Him walking down the mine, breaking all the light
Yeah.
bulbs was in the original. Her in that one locker room with all the suits coming down around her, that was in the original. I mean, there's just so many things. You can tell the people that made it weren't just looking to use My Bloody Valentine. I think they really were fans of the film and they were looking to pay homage and bring this story to a new generation, is kind of how I saw it.
I agree with you, and that's why I was able to get over my thought that they were just using the name because they didn't really focus on Valentine's Day. I got over that once I started seeing little things like you were mentioning, those little tidbits that showed you they actually knew what the original was all about.
Right. One thing they did was they sort of had their own dryer scene,
Yep.
which I thought was very well done. It fit the film. It looked really, really good. And again, it was just a nod, tip of the hat to the original. Sort of spinning off of the dryer scene, I wanted to say a lot of the kills in this 2009 version are pretty fucking brutal, man. They do not hold back on the death scenes, man. And yes, some of them are CGI, and you can kind of tell. But again, I think it's one of the more brutal ones that no one ever fucking talks about. I don't understand. Like, you know, these were really cool death scenes. Like Tom Atkins, if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but Tom Atkins' death scene is pretty fucking crazy, man. Like that's a really good. Well, yeah, I was mad, but it was a crazy scene that they shot. I think a lot of the death scenes, were really well done. I think there were some practical with CGI going on, but again, just for the brutality and some of them were quite clever. Again, this is just another film, maybe because it's a remake, people don't talk about.
I agree with you, and when it comes to the world of remake movies, this is one of the few that I like to revisit and I consider a good movie. Not saying that I'm going to bash every remake, but a lot of times I watch a remake and I'm like, I'm glad I watched, but I never need to see it again. But this is one that stands on its own, and I am actually planning on having a double feature on Valentine's Day weekend of it.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Geneva and I, we watched these Monday and Monday and Tuesday, and back to back, and we really enjoyed seeing, sort of comparing them and But again, just seeing how much the 2009 version just really paid homage to the original, while bringing you a different story. And again, the star power was there. I thought it was competently acted. The effects were really good. Uh, so I didn't see the ending coming, and the guy's pretty creepy looking with that mask. Again, I don't
He
know why it
is.
doesn't get more love.
It's one of the best, both films, and they're very similar, almost identical costumes.
Right.
They're, but it's you're right. It's one of the creepier, cooler things. I mean, I love Michael Myers. He's one of my favorites. But the fact is that mask
Right.
is still just Captain Kirk spray painted. Like, it's
Yeah.
not as creepy as
Right.
that minor out.
Yeah, and again, it's very similar to the original, but they put their own twist on it. And again, I just like the small little things.
And I think it's good that, like you mentioned, more brutal and things of that nature. As much as I love originals, and the original My Bloody Valentine's my preferred of the two, that was my era. You got to do
Mhm.
things for each era. And 2009, the new 12, 13, 14-year-olds, they expect a more brutal movie. It just is what it is. So
Right.
I think if they tried to be have things toned down like the original, I think it really would have failed with the new generation of horror fans.
Yeah, I agree. I think the original might be a little too slow and too long in between kills to keep the newer horror fan interested, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, again, I think these are two competent films, and it's definitely ones I'll revisit in the future, and ones that I enjoyed watching this Valentine's season.
Can we make this a regular thing where we look at an original or remake and discuss it?
I think we should
I
do
had
that.
one for
I
April.
think,
Then the
what's that?
fog. We'll do Tom Atkins again.
Oh,
Isn't it
nice.
April, whatever, when Donald Pleasance is talking on the beach?
I
Yeah,
believe so.
we'll figure it out. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and of course I love Tom Atkins, so I want to do it again.
Yeah, I think we talked about doing a Dawn of the Dead one
We
as
can do
well.
that in March. Well, we'll figure it out. I don't think people care about our planned meeting, so
Yeah.
I guess we'll do that another time.
Yeah, no, just a little tease of what's to come. And maybe there's probably going to be a time where our opinions are not similar
Oh,
of
no
nature.
doubt. No doubt. I actually expected tonight to be a little bit more disagreement just because of our conversations about the original My Bloody Valentine over the years. This was a nice surprise.
Yeah, for sure. It's I just decided to watch it, give it another try, and just see what it gave me. And I don't know, tastes change, and it's just the way it is, I guess. So glad I gave it another shot.
Sometimes it's just the mood you're in and the setting you're watching it too.
That's true. That means a lot.
The more naked you are, the better.
Do we have a poll question? That's true. Do we have a poll question this
No,
week?
I was looking at our notes and we didn't come up with one for Valentine's Day. So
Damn it.
yeah.
Oh well. No poll question. We're sorry. Next week we'll have a poll question up for you. We promise. You can take your time. If you have anything you want to talk to us about this episode, email us at thescaryroomhr@gmail.com. We always look forward to hearing from you. Rich, anything else before we close the sucker out?
Well, I just want to wish everybody happy Valentine's Day. And if, especially during COVID, it's a tough time if you're alone. I hope that you can reach out to friends, talk to them, things like that if you don't have a significant other. And if you're really hurting and need a Valentine, guys, email Mike. Ladies, email me. And send nudes to Mike. Guys.
Don't email me. Just email Rich.
I hope it is nice. I know it's a Hallmark holiday, but it's never bad to celebrate special people in our lives. So I hope it is a good Valentine's Day for everyone.
Yeah, definitely enjoy your Valentine's Day. We want to thank Rick Fusselman from Time Capsule Toys for coming on the show and talking about his time at HorrorRealm and his show Toyohio, as well as his store. So again, check out. It seems you just go to Google and type Time Capsule Toys, and it'll bring you up to all his social media and such.
Hey, Mike, when
Yeah.
you post this and edit everything, you
Yeah.
should put your Toyohio video in there. You know the one I'm talking about. I think Rick would appreciate listening to this episode and having that surprise.
I don't even know where that is, but maybe we'll find it. So maybe
Damn it.
you'll hear that, folks. It's somewhere, I'm sure. But again, thanks to him. And if you're looking for some vintage toys or even some modern ones, go check him out at Time Capsule Toys. Again, thank you all for listening. We truly do appreciate you listening to us ramble about nothing sometimes. Again, we are Horror Realm Radio, the show that won't stay dead.
As much as you want us to.